pen to paper. It is an extremely cynical setting. Let's see. The very first paragraph of the main book reads, "The world is in pain. Virtue has become a foreign language. Fear is the new currency, and apathy is the vice of choice. We are shackled by the senseless circular logic of headless governments fumbling for bloody knives lost in the abattoir, fearing what may happen if someone else finds them first. And in this community of petrified despair, we are each ultimately alone." That actually sets the tone for the entire book. No, it's a very hard book to write.
And we got to this paragraph. Matt locked himself in a closet for a week.
Yeah.
Occasionally visited only by men who dropped bars of soap into socks and then beat him senseless.
Yeah, sacks of oranges to the abdomen, right? Because they don't leave marks.
So I mean, it's actually tough from a creative standpoint.
Oh my God, it's the hardest thing I've ever worked on.
I don't know.
It asks me to put myself in an extremely dark place. Ask myself what I'm already.
What is the worst that could happen?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I already look at the world and I'm kind of, we all shed a tear once in a while, right? I mean, imagine what would happen if you were intentionally trying to take everything that you see in the newspapers and considering the worst possible outcome. And that's sort of what I'm on fire. Because the idea is it's not to depress the players and the characters. It's to put the characters in a position where not acting means living in abject despondence. You have to act in order to bring the world back from the brink.
And the third answer is, it's okay for some things to be finished. we can reach an end, like World of Fire has no more dark places to go, but just no more places to go. It gets to its end, it covers its body. A lot of it's torn out of the headlines, so you can carry on perpetually with it.
Yeah.
At that point, it's yours.
Yeah, exactly. The PDFs are about establishing history. Not saying what they're doing. Unlike SFA, which talked about what is going forward and pushing forward a plot line. World of Fire is telling you, this is it. This is open it up. What's in front of you, and each part is this is filling in the blanks. This isn't where it goes is yours.
The world is screwed up, and it's now your turn to save it.
Right.
Any other questions? I have another question for you if you guys don't have one.
Two words, decade books.
Which one?
Decade books.
Decade?
The 70s. Decade.
Decade.
10 years.
Decade books.
I like the idea of decade books.
Next time I'll bring subtitles.
This mental vision, do you like that?
Oh man. Okay.
Decade books.
Decade books. Yes. There are going to be 2 for 10,000 bullets, because those are 2 critical periods in the 10,000 bullets schema, which obviously blows it open. One is my favorite period in cinema, and one of my favorite times in American history, which is the 1970s, early 1980s. I'm going to call it Decade of Decadence, and so it's going to just span that particular period in Empire City, but also it's reflecting the world around them. So it's shifting time. The other one is going to be called. It's going to be called Gangland, and that's going to cover the 30s, Prohibition era, post-Prohibition era, and again, in the context of Empire City, but also branching out. So it's kind of also the major periods in crime noir aside from the modern day, so it's part of expanding that.
I am afraid to report that Rubber Store doesn't lend itself to decade books.
You have a lot of decades to cover.
Millennia books, guys. I have privately told the other 2 that the 40s is mine. I have no idea what I'm going to do. Originally, it was going to be a supplement for World on Fire for SFA. Originally, we were going to do a decade book that turned back the clock and showed you what things were like back when Broken Seal and everybody else were fighting the Nazis and those groups. And that sort of went away, and maybe it'll come back. It's possible that I don't get to that 40s book until we bring out SFA. Good. I hope not, because that's 2 years from now. But the one thing I can tell you is that at some point in the future, the other one I'll be doing is a Victorian era style 1890s era espionage product. It has a name. I'm not releasing it. It won't be out till at least 2009, probably 2010.
Yeah.
It's a long ways out, but those are the two ones I've dog-eared for this. So,
Another of the 10 cream stores.
another of the 10, yeah. That's one of the products we've never talked about on the forum, so we'll eventually make its way. But it's God. I've got Crucible and SFA before I even get that.
Right.
So.
Third wave.
Yeah, and I got to finish the rest of the work on World on Fire. I'm almost done, but there's still that. Back to work. Oh, I'm gonna have to buy some scotch on the way home. Just,
I didn't mean to touch a
On the
nerve.
way out of the hotel.
No. It's just it's so hard, right? You know, I have to misery style take keys out of my laptop and just sit there like shocking myself every time I write E, just so I can be in a weird enough mood to pull this off.
If he fails to produce, I do get out the cinder block and the sledgehammer.
Yeah, I start sending like rabid ferrets through the mail. Oh my God, my city!
A dark ride.
Let's see, what else have we got? Anybody have any questions? Because if not, I've got one for you. So we've talked a lot about the products we've got on plate, but on the deck. But what do you guys want to see? Is there anything that you've ever dreamed about Crafty doing that we haven't, or is there like
Pulp.
It's coming, but not for a while. Wow, yeah.
The number 10 is going to be magic for you one day.
Yeah. Pulp is mine. That's one of the other things that I set aside and said, no one touches this genre. I am such a big fan of the Indiana Jones movies, and there was actually a point where Crucible was going to do a pulp setting. Very briefly, it lasted like one fever-riddled weekend before I realized it just was stupid. Which happens occasionally, and instead it became this other thing. I actually have a setting already in mind for what I'll be doing, and it should be pretty fun. It's got a long ways to go.
Because if it's not pulp.
Yeah. I mean, it really has to be lighthearted. And that'll be the cookie, because I start off with World on Fire, and then I get to Crucible, which is fairly heavy. I mean, it's not. It's still fun. But it's taking itself seriously. Well, good God, when you're fighting the forces of evil and you're just a dude with a shotgun, pretty dark territory. And then toward the end,
That can be committed. Fighting the armies of darkness.
yes. Okay. Yeah. You can't do armies of darkness with Crucible. I'll actually put out a word for you that will make sense in a year and is one of the fun parts of the settings. Tramplers. You'll know what it means in a year. Yeah, it's a fun setting, but it's also very heavy. And then, so the cookie at the end will be doing the whole stuff. After that, it's neon lights and bourbon.
I'm going to hold you to that, though.
What's that?
I'm going to hold you to that, then.
Yeah.
I expect before anything ever happens to you, you have to get pulp out.
Okay. Oh, God.
Now I can die.
That's where I get the authors afterwards.
It's just this long ellipsis we find, and it's like 25 pages long.
It's like,